Hey there, how are you today? I know it's warm weather now, and we're looking to make some money on some warm weather bills. So today we're going to build the first thing that I ever sold as part of my woodworking. First thing I ever sold was a Carpenter bait trap. For this, you are going to need a 4x4. You are going to need I use half pint jars. You could also use pints. You could even use old mayonnaise or pickle jars. But a half pint jar is more than enough. You're going to need a ½ inch drill bit and a 3/4 inch drill bit. You're going to need a screw eye as well. So let's get ready and learn how to make some money over all this buzz. The first thing you will need is going to be 5 inches of a 4x4. Measure it out just like you normally would. Do your layout mark. Bring up your square. Make sure you remember to put your pencil on your mark and bring your square to your pencil. That way you keep things where they should be. And check your measurement and make sure it's right. And it is. Some people say don't use pressure treated for this, but honestly, people that build porches use pressure treated for their porch columns, support columns, and the Carpenter bees bore right into that. So I see no problem using pressure treated at all. So you use whichever you prefer. At the time of this recording, you can get a 6 foot long 4x4 that's pressure treated for $10. And the last box of half pint jars I bought were $10. So for $20, you can get quite a few of these things built. Just try to keep everything square and up against your fence and make your cut. And there you have your 5 inches of a 4x4. Now, if you're batching these out, when you measure out your first one and lay it out, set you up a stop block and go ahead and cut all of them that you're going to cut. You will have a short piece about 3.5, 4 inches left over after you're done. You could probably make a little set of coasters or something for your shop out of it. But that's that. Now let's move on over to the table saw. Bring your Bring your block and your square over to your table saw. You're going to move your table saw out to, you're just cutting the corner off of your block. Just eyeball it the best that you can, maybe a half inch to an inch. You don't want too much. You don't want to go all the way, but all you're doing is chamfering the end. So after you get it lined up, set your blade at 45 degrees. Once you get that locked in place, you're going to want to raise your blade out a little bit just to make sure it'll cut all the way through. Then you're going to plug your saw up if it isn't already. And then you're going to make your first cut on your corner. If your 4x4 is damp, this one was damp. I got it at Lowe's. I used my heater to try to dry it some, but it could. I know it still has some dampness to it, but not enough that I'm too scared. But always know where your hands are and do not stand directly behind what you're cutting on the table saw. That is dangerous. So make sure that you wear your PPE at all times. Now make your cut. And please make sure you know where your fingers are. Take you a good look at that and make sure you like where the chamfer is. And if you do, go ahead and cut your other 3 corners. And now you should have something that looks like this. I think that was more than enough chamfer on that. I like the way that looks. We will go on to the next step. Okay, what you're going to need is your drill bits, your screwdriver bit, you're going to need 2 screws about 3/4 to an inch long. A half inch would work too, just fine. Matter of fact, that might be what I'm using here. I'll have to check it. Figure out where my tape measure went. Looks like I'm using about 5/8 inch screws, which is just fine. So set these over here where you can grab them in a minute. First thing you're going to do is you're going to check up your 3/4 inch drill bit. You're going to plug your drill in. Okay, now you're going to want to put the 3/4 inch hole in the middle of the bottom, the opposite end of where you put your chamfers. You want that 3/4 inch hole right in the middle of that. You can measure that out with your tape measure and square if you want to. But since I make so many of them, I have made me a couple of measurement jigs to help out with that. Let me go figure out where my pencil went. Okay, I'm back. I found my pencil. I guess the shop gnomes didn't take it. But just some simple little jigs like this right here. Just remember to make sure you write what the measurement was on them. 1 3/4 inches plus 1 3/4 inches equals 3.5 inches, which is the width of a 4x4. So you would lay that up against that and make you a mark across there like so. And then do the same this direction. And that gives you a cross point for you to drill. If you have a center punch, get you a center punch, or you could even use a nail and punch a hole in there right there. I don't know where my center punch is, so I'll use a rusty nail. I'll get right on that point, and I will gouge a little hole in it right there like that. And that's where I'll run my drill bit in. I use a spade bit just because it's easier. You need to go about 3 inches or so deep. So measure it not from the very tip, but from the corner here, 3 inches, so you'll get an idea about where you are. You can mark it with a marker or a piece of tape if you want to get you to know where your 3 inches are. Here, allow me to demonstrate. Measure your 3 inches and wrap your tape right around where it would be and drill your hole. Okay, now that you have your hole drilled, you're going to check it. Take your calipers, set them up on the block, run the piece down in till it hits bottom. Look at what the measurement says. First, make sure you've got the sawdust out of there, because apparently I don't. Now, run that down in there and see what you get. Check it up against your tape measure, because I don't ever trust the graduations on these cheap ones. 3 inches. You may end up having to come back and go a little bit deeper on that. Maybe, maybe not. We will see. But now it's time to do the sides. Okay, for doing the sides, you're going to put a hole in each of the four sides here. You're going to want them about an inch up from the bottom, so take your pencil and your tape measure and square, or if you have a measurement jig like I do, take it and make you a mark. That way you've got an inch up from the bottom. Okay, after you got that done, take your 1 3/4 and do your up and down mark. That way that gives you a cross point on each side. That would be centered. Centered an inch up is what you're looking for. Okay, now you're going to want to change over to your 1/2 inch bit. Now after you get that, you're going to start drilling in straight down, and then you're going to angle your bit to about 45 degrees. It don't have to be exact. Just guess at it as best you can. I'll show you what I mean. I'll move over here where you can see real good. Maybe you can see real good there. Yeah, you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Tip of your spade bit right on that cross, and here we go. You're going to run that in until it hits the hole that you drilled into the middle. And then you're going to repeat that on all four sides. Now that you've got all of that done, here's what you should have. An angled hole going up and meeting the hole in the center on all four sides. The object is the bees will go up in this hole and see the light from the big hole in the jar and go down in it, but won't be able to see any other light as they're going up through there, so that's where they have to end up, is in the jar, and then they can't get back out once they get in the jar. But your next step, go ahead and clear some of these shavings out of your way so you have a little bit more room. Get you a very, very small, I think it's a 16th inch bit, or so. It's what I use for my pilot holes mostly. 16th or a 32nd. I think it's a 16th. But you're going to want to go in the middle of the top and just a small little, not very deep hole, just a start. You don't have to measure this. You can just eyeball this and it'll be okay. Just a little bit like that's all you need. Then you're going to flip it over. You're going to put your screwdriver bit in. And get your 2 screws and your jar. You're going to open your jar. These cannon jars have a band, and then they have this middle thing. You have no use for this, you can toss this or use it for a project later or whatever. But what you want to do is you want to get your band and set it up on here so that that hole is in the center of it. I apologize. I got the dropsies today. But you're looking at it to be about like that. Okay? At this point, if you want to sand this bottom down, you can. But this bottom seems pretty smooth to me, so I'm not going to worry about it. But get your screw. Put a screw in towards, not near the side where you have the hole drilled, but the side towards the corner. Put one screw in the edge of that banding right there. And then do the same directly across from it. You will inevitably probably bend the band a little bit, but that's going to happen. There's not much you can do. But after you get that screwed on there, you're going to reattach your jar to the band. It's starting to look like a Carpenter bee trap yet. And it sets up perfect because it's centered. Now you're going to need you an eye screw. A screw eye. Excuse me. There's a screw eye where you started this hole up at the top. Thread your screw eye in there and twist it till it's tightened all the way down. And there you have a Carpenter bee trap. You can clean it up with your sander and you are done. Okay, my very first build that sold was Carpenter bee traps, guys. These things are pretty groovy and they serve a very important purpose. Carpenter bees are destructive. I believe it was DIY Lima that had Carpenter bees get in his cedar one time and make a big mess out of it. But correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but I think it was you that I seen that. But these things are totally worth making and selling. I can price them here at $10 a piece, or if you buy more than one, $8 a piece. Go somewhere that you can pick up some cheap screw hooks and offer one with every trap. And there you have it. Easy money. You sell three, you made your money back on the build. You made, and you can start again. You got pure profit from there. It's a fun little project. It was a neat little project. It was everything I build like this. I research before I build it. The bluebird houses, I done research on bluebirds. I done research on carpenter bees. Just make sure you tell your customer to cover up the old holes that they were using, or they will just continue to use them. After they cover up those holes, instead of digging new ones, they will go straight in there. Now, I'm pretty sure places like Lowe's and Home Depot do sell some kind of bait for these traps, but I've never used it. I've never had to. And even if you don't want to make money, it probably wouldn't hurt you to make a couple of these to have around your house. Because I got a feeling those bees are going to be bad again this year. Okay, I hope you found some usefulness out of this. If you did, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm John with Ricker Creations, and I hope you have a wonderful night, and I will see you next time.